How are we doing, everyone? Hope you're well. Mr. Boulder here, back today with a video that I've been thinking about doing for a while now. A couple of years ago, a really great thread went around the community, which was started by Metal Mickey and Jurgen. The 10 terrible albums in your collection thread. Loads of great videos appeared courtesy of that thread. And since then, I've definitely noticed there's another 10 albums in my collection which really are not up to scratch at all. So after a quick sip of coffee, we're going to be shining a light on 10 more pieces of shit which for some reason are still occupying space in my collection. So we'll start off with some CDs, and if you watched last week's video, you'd have seen this album then. First up today is Judas Priest Demolition from 2001, the second album to feature Tim Ripper-Owens on vocals, and unlike 1997's excellent Jugulator, this is a real letdown. It's got a few good songs on it, but it's got a lot of very generic, forgettable nonsense on it at the same time. Scott Travis's drums are really, really good, but the riffing of Glenn Tipton and KK Downing, for the most part, is very generic and uninspiring. A great performance on the vocals by Tim Ripper-Owens, but for me, they're not utilising his voice to the best of its capabilities, or his capabilities on this album. There's not much of the high falsetto, which you often associate with Priest. And it's just a waste, as far as I'm concerned, of his capabilities. Fantastic vocalist, and he sounds great on this, but they're not using enough of the highs for me. But it's got some good tunes on it. Machine Man, first track, is really decent. I like that one a lot. One on One's a great tune as well, even though some of the lyrics are a bit silly. Bloodsuckers, track 7, is a great tune. Subterfuge is good as well. But there's a hell of a lot of forgettable nonsense as well, which just sounds incredibly uninspiring. Stuff like Devil Digger, that just sounds ridiculously cliched. In Between, Feed on Me, Lost and Found, Cyberface, loads of stuff which is just not good at all. And it's just such a massive disappointment after 1997's excellent Jugulator album. Judas Priest Demolition from 2001 is not a great album at all. And this CD was quite expensive, and I wish I hadn't paid what I did pay for it, because it's just not that great at all. So that's the first one today, Judas Priest's Demolition. Up next is the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and this is One Hot Minute from 1995. Their only album to feature Dave Navarro on guitar. Now, the Chili's have been putting out shit music for a long time now, but back in the day, they were really good. Particularly in the late 80s with Mother's Milk and the early 90s with Blood Sugar Sex Magic. Now, when I first had this back in the day, I had it on cassette. I really, really liked it. Lost a cassette. When I say lost, it went to the tip with the rest of my cassette collection. What a mistake that was. Anyway, I saw this in a charity shop a while back for £1.50, so I thought, I'm going to grab that again. Stuck it in a CD player, and it's nowhere near as good as I thought it was. I really enjoyed it back in the 90s, but it's quite disappointing now. Again, this has got a few good tracks on it. Opening track, Warped, is decent. I like that one. Track 2, Aeroplane, is definitely my favourite. Dave Navarro's guitar playing is great. Some nice riffs. Good vocals from Andy Kiedis in that track. My Friends, track 4, which is kind of like a ballad, is really, really good. I like the chords that Dave Navarro is using. Again, Andy Kiedis' vocals are good. Coffee Shop, absolute shit. That is a terrible song. P is also a bloody awful song. That's got Flea just playing the bass and his vocals are fucking awful. Not good at all. Walkabout, some dreadful, dreadful lyrics in that tune. Tearjerker, One Hot Minute title track is decent. Shallow Be Thy Name, other stuff like that. Produced by Rick Rubin. On the whole, really, really bad. I mean, these guys, as far as the musicianship goes, Chad Smith's a decent drummer. Flea's obviously a great bass player. Dave Navarro's a good guitarist. But just very, very, very average. A couple of decent tracks, and then some of it is just absolutely terrible. Glad I only paid £1.50 for this CD, because that's probably all it's worth. Red Hot Chili Peppers, One Hot Minute from 1995. Not a good album at all. Up next, and here's Fear Factory and Transgression from, I think it's 2005. I think it's 2005. So the second album to not feature Dino Cazares on the guitar. The first one, can't remember the name off the top of my head, is very, very good. But this follow-up, Transgression, is not great at all. There's only one, for me, really, really good song on this. When you see two cover versions on an album, you know you got problems, because you're obviously not writing very good songs if you're relying on putting two covers on your album. The first track, which is 540,000 Fahrenheit, is a decent opener. Track 2, the title track Transgression, is decent. But then after that, it's just average song after average song after average song with very uninspired riffage. Some decent vocal moments from Burton C. Bell in places, which are quite catchy, but the songs in general, the rest of it is not that great. Towards the end here, you have a cover of U2's I Will Follow, and I'd always much rather listen to the U2 original because it's far better than what's on here. Burton's vocals don't really suit it for me. After that is a cover of Killing Joke's Millennium, which is far better, it has to be said. I enjoy that one of the covers a lot more. But the last track, Moment of Impact, is the only really decent song on this album. It's got some great riffs on it. Burton's vocals are superb. Good chorus, really catchy. But that's the only really good song on this. And this is another one that's not easy to come by these days. Got this as a V-Bay. Didn't pay loads for it, and thank God, because not a great album. I think it's Cyberwaste, the album before this. It's much better. But this one, not good at all. Transgression from Fear Factory from 2005 is not very good album at all. And thank God Dino came back, because they made some much better stuff once he returned to the band. Quick sip of coffee. Up next, the band I absolutely love. This was our first album with a new singer, and I really enjoyed the singer as well. So I had high hopes for this album, but once it arrived, I was bitterly disappointed. From 1998, here's Van Halen and Van Halen III. So yep, I absolutely love Van Halen, and I really like Gary Cherone. His vocals are great. I'm a big Extreme fan as well. So I had high hopes for this album, but it's not good. There's only, again, one really good song on this. There's a couple of other decent tunes, but some absolute crap at the same time. So the only really decent song was the first single, which is Without You. Starts off with a great drum beat from Alex Van Halen. Some excellent riffs come in. Gary sounding great on the vocals. There's some great riffs after the solo in this, which Mike Anthony follows perfectly on the bass, and it just sounds fantastic. Great song. One I Want track after that is decent, but then there's some absolute rubbish. Stuff like From Afar, Dirty Water Dog, Once, Josephina, Year to the Day, Ballot and the Bullet, and Fire in the Hole are decent. But the last track, How Many Say I, has got Eddie Van Halen on lead vocals. No disrespect to Eddie, but he's no vocalist. And even though Gary Cherone provides some great backup vocals, the song is just absolutely terrible. It's a terrible way to finish a terrible album. Like I say, I had high hopes for this, but just did not live up to my expectations in the slightest. It's such a bad album, it's ridiculous, considering the Van Halen's discography for the most part is incredibly strong. But Van Halen 3 from 1998 is not a good album. One really good song, a couple of decent tunes, and the rest of it is just forgetful. And the last of the CDs today. Now, this band, you're spoiled for choice for shit albums from the last 25 years, because they've got plenty of them. But Bon Jovi's Burning Bridges from, and I can't remember when it's come out, 2011 I think that is. Not good. Thankfully didn't pay a lot of money for this. I grabbed this because I did the Bon Jovi album ranking a while back, and I hadn't listened to any of the latter day albums. And yeah, like I say, a lot of the latter day ones are not good at all, but this is the worst of the bunch. Just very bad. Housewife rock. Definitely some country influences on it. It's not all bad. Teardrop of the Sea, the first track's okay. We Don't Run, track 2 is okay. Saturday Night Gave Me Sunday Morning, track 3. Definitely the best song on the album. It's got a really nice chorus. John Bon Jovi's vocals sounding great. I like the chords that are being used. They sound really nice. But after that, it's just all downhill. Stuff like Blind Love, Who Do You Die For? Life is Beautiful is bloody awful. Really bad. I'm Your Man, title track. Terrible album. Like I say, Bon Jovi put out a lot of bad albums since 2000's Crush, but this is the worst of them, all of them. Not good at all. Yeah, when I listened back to this the other week, It's only really track 3 that sticks out in the memory for me. The rest of it is very beige, very bland, very shit. Bon Jovi's Burning Bridges, not a great album at all. So that's that for all the CDs. Going to go on to some records now. Now up next is a band that obviously saw that what Bon Jovi were doing and thought, yep, bland housewife rock is where we're going to be heading towards in our next album. And it's Def Leppard and X from 2002. Unbelievably dull. Very, very boring. Nothing like the Def Leppard that we'd seen before. I mean, obviously Def Leppard had gone much more commercial during the 80s. But compared to albums like On Through the Night and High and Dry, this just couldn't be any more different. Most of the electric guitars are gone to be replaced by acoustic guitars, which is not a problem for me. But these songs are just dull and bland. And just not great at all. Joe Elliott's vocals are decent. All the musicianship is absolutely fine, but the songs are just bang average. I mean, the first track now is the lead single, and I remember hearing that and not being very excited at all. And the rest of the album is just the same, to be honest. You're So Beautiful, track 3 is bloody awful. Every Day, that's okay, actually. I like some of the guitar work and the bass work going on in the chorus in that track. But stuff like Long Way to Go, that's okay, actually. But 4-letter word, torn to shreds, Love Don't Lie, Gravity, Girl Like You, etc., etc., etc. Just an incredibly dull housewife rock album. For those who want the next step up from something like Coldplay, X from 2002 is not a great album. And Leppard have put out some decent stuff in the latter part of their career, unlike Bon Jovi, but this isn't one of them. X from 2002 is incredibly disappointing. Up next, from 1998, here's Sepultura and Against. Now, for me, the Derek Green era is very hit and miss. Albums like this, not great at all, but they've done some really good stuff like Machine Messiah and Quadra, the most recent album, is really good. But Against, which was the beginning of the Derek Green era, is it's not a good album. Again, this is another album that's got a couple of good songs that I really enjoy, but mostly a lot of forgetful nonsense. Title track Against, first song, it's definitely got an old school punk vibe, kind of reminds me of the lights of Black Flag. I like that a lot. Track 2, Choke, which is the single. I love the intro riff. Derek's vocals in the chorus are really good. A catchy chorus, good tune. But after that, it goes downhill massively. Rumours, Old Earth, Floaters in Mud, not great songs. Common Bonds, stuff like that, Drowned Out. Hatred Aside's okay, but for the most part, the songs just do not stick out in the memory. The riffs are not memorable, they're very generic. Derek's vocals are good, but the songs on the whole are not very well written at all. I recently did quite a U-turn on Roots, the album before this. But I went back to this, and no such U-turn here. A disappointing album. Like I say, the Derek Green era is decent. It could be better, but there's much, much better albums than this in the Derek Green era. Sepultura are, of course, pulling the plug on their career this year after 40 years. This is one of those albums that will not live long in the memory with regards to their discography. Sepultura's Against from 1998 is incredibly disappointing. Let's move on to some death metal now. And here's Morbid Angels, Kingdoms Disdained, their most recent album from 2017. Big problem right from the off. The production on this album is not great. The sound is incredibly muddy. Apart from the kick drums, they cut through everything really clearly, but the rest of the album, it's just got a really kind of muddy sound to it. And the songs are not well written. I'm not someone who shits on the Steve Tucker era like a lot of David Vincent era fanboys do. But this album, again, the songs just written are not very, very good at all. And again, it's another one of those albums that's got a couple of really good songs on it. But other than that, a lot of very, very average generic stuff that doesn't stick out in the memory. I mean, Piles of Little Arms, the first song, that's actually pretty good. I like that one. Garden of Disdain, track 3 is good. You get the Pillars Crumbling on side 2, which is excellent. It's got a really nice time change halfway through the song. The riffs that come in, the change in the drums, it's really a really good hook, really sort of catchy stuff. But there's so much stuff on this which you listen to, and then after it's finished, you just think, I can't remember anything about that. Stuff like The Righteous Voice, For Thy Master, From the Hand of Kings, The Fall of Idols. I remember when I first heard this, I really enjoyed it. And then I went back to it about a month later and I thought, I'm not digging this as much as I did when I first picked this up. And then when I listened to this again last week, in preparation for this video, it's like, yeah, it hasn't improved. Morbid's discography is pretty strong, or very strong, I should say. But this one is not great at all. Yeah, the Steve Tucker stuff is really good, but this is not one of them. Kingdom's Disdain has got massive problems, from the muddy production to the poorly written songs, a lack of hooks in the tunes, which means this one passes you by, and after it's finished, you don't really remember too much about it. Unfortunate stuff, because I love Morbid Angel, but this one is not great. Couple more to go. And here's Megadeth's The World Needs a Hero from 2001. Al Pitrelli on the guitar. Jimmy DeGrasso, formerly Suicidal Tendencies, on the drums. Again, another album I was really looking forward to when it first came out and just massively disappointed pretty much from the off. Again, this album's got some good songs on it, but that's about as complimentary as I can be. They're just good, and there's a lot of shit on it at the same time. Disconnect, the first track, is okay. Don't mind that one. The World Needs a Hero title track, again, it's okay, but that's about as nice as I can be about it. Moto Psycho, that was a single. Well, actually a lead single. That doesn't sort of leave you high hopes for the rest of the record, that has to be said. 1000 Times Goodbye is okay, but I hate the spoken word parts in it. They're very cheesy. And after that, most of it is just not good at all. Stuff like Burning Bridges, Promises, Recipe for Hate, Warhorse is absolutely terrible. Losing My Senses is a completely forgettable song. Dread and the Fugitive Mind, that is really good. I remember first hearing that on a best of, which came out before this album. That song is good. But stuff like Return to Hangar, I mean, when you're sort of recycling old songs, that definitely tells you you've got problems. And then the last track, When, is 9 minutes long, and 9 minutes too long as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I absolutely hate to sort of shit on anything with regards to Megadeth, because Dave Mustaine is the reason I picked up a guitar. But this album is just very, very average. Like I say, even the best stuff on it is just okay. And in places, it's just unlistenable. Very, very dull. And easily one of the worst albums in their discography. So many great albums in Megadeth's discography, and this is easily not one of them. Not a good album at all. Megadeth's The World Needs a Hero from 2001 is, for the most part, not good whatsoever. So one more to show, and I cannot believe I'm going to be showing this album, because this band, for me, their discography is really, really strong. This is the only shit album in their discography as far as I'm concerned. I've tried over the years to get on with it, and I just cannot. So last up today is Testament's Demonic from 1997, and I hate this new cover as well. The cover on my original CD is far better. This sees Testament going into a more death metal direction, which I don't have any problem with, but they're about 5 years late to the party, really. Death metal has already been a thing big time for about 6 or 7 years by this point. Of course, starting much earlier in the mid to late 80s, but Demonic is just an album with some very, very bang average songs on it. Again, this is an album that's got a few good tunes on it, but a lot of stuff that's just completely forgettable. Demonic Refusal, the first track, is okay. The Burning Times track 2 is definitely the best song on this album. I do actually really like that one. The guitar work beyond the vocals and the chorus is very, very catchy. That is a really good tune. Together as One, don't care for that one too much. John Doe, that's a good song. I like the chorus in that. I remember first hearing that on a CD which came through with Metal Hammer. Chuck's vocals really good on that one. Murky Waters, first track on side B, I like that one as well, but the rest of it on side B, just completely forgettable. Hatred's Rise, New Eyes of Old, 10,000 Thrones, just don't care for the rest of side 2. After the first song, the rest of it is just completely pointless. And yeah, Testament, usually a band incredibly strong, but this one for me is the only shit album in their discography. 3 songs are really good, and the rest of it I just don't care for at all. Chuck Billy's death metal vocals are fine, but like I say, they're about 5 years late to the death metal party. The riffs from Eric Peterson, which are usually incredibly strong, are good, not terrible by any stretch of imagination. Gene Hoggan on the drums, putting in a good performance, but good drums don't make for great songs, and this album is just really forgetful. Not good at all. Such a shame because the rest of their discography is so good. But Demonic from 1997 is just a couple of decent tracks. The rest of it, not good at all. Hate to put it in there, but it has to be said. This is not a good album. Demonic from Testament, easily one of their worst, if not their worst. Right guys, that's it for today's video. As always, thank you very much for watching. It's very much appreciated. Jump in the comment section, let me know what you think about these albums I've shown. Do you think these are bad as well, or just some of these albums you really enjoy? As always, get in the comments. It's always good chatting with you guys. I should be back next week with my very first updated album ranking video, and I'm going to be ranking the studio albums of Iron Maiden again. My original video is my successful video on this channel. It's got over 16,000 views. And I've had quite a few people over the last couple of years ask me, where would I put Senjutsu? So I've decided to re-rank the entire discography. So I've done nothing but listen to Iron Maiden all week. So it's been a good week. So until then, guys, as per usual, I'll see you next time. So cheers, take care, and I'll see you soon.